Christmas is only a few days away now, and probably a lot of you are still wondering what to get for your friends or your children or maybe even your parents. For those still wondering, I have the answer for you. Get them some Lego. But Max, my person who I'm buying gifts for doesn't like Lego. Wrong. They do. They just haven't told you yet. And if they actually don't like Lego, then they're wrong and just haven't built the right set yet. It's like with alcohol. If you don't like it, you just haven't tried the right drink yet. Great, 30 seconds in, already promoted alcohol to a bunch of minors. Well, today I'm gonna tell you which sets I would recommend you get for whoever you're still buying gifts for. I'm gonna recommend some sets, I'll tell you which ones not to buy, because there are some really shitty ones as well and you wouldn't want to pick those up. It'll be a fun time and hopefully help some of the people who still don't know what to get for their loved ones. But before we start, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and now let's get into it. So, if whoever you're buying for, assumably a kid, is a fan of Star Wars, you're probably gonna get something from the Star Wars theme. Duh. Now Star Wars has a wide variety of sets, ranging from small builds to huge UCS ships and starfighters. They have basically everything the heart desires, but of course among all those sets there are some that are just really not that great, or rather don't offer a lot of value for the price you're paying. In the lower price range, there really aren't any sets with terrible value. The Clone Trooper Commander Station, Defense of Hoth, and Snowtrooper Battle Pack are great sets to get a lot of minifigs and can be expanded upon with other sets. You can never really go wrong with a microfighter, since they're a great way to get important characters in cheap sets you'd normally only get in $30 upward sets. Outside of that, the Dueler Mandalore is one I'd recommend as well, since it's an easy way of getting a really good Maul and a not too bad Ahsoka. The 4+ sets aren't that strong here, but if we step up the price class by 10 to 20 bucks, we find some even better sets. This Christmas is probably one of the last times you'll be able to pick up the AAT or the 501st Battle Pack. I wouldn't recommend getting the AAT since the build is really bad and you can get Ahsoka in a set half the price. If you want to get a 332nd Trooper though, this is your only option besides the aftermarket. What I would recommend though is any set from the Mandalorian. The Imperial Marauder, the Armor's Mandalorian Forge, Trouble on Tatooine, the Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter, and the Dark Trooper Tag are all great sets with amazing minifigs and simple but nice builds, ignoring Boba Fett's Starship. Two sets I can only recommend if you like minifigures are the Republic Fighter Tank and the Obi-Wan Kenobi vs Darth Vader. The builds are far below average and look straight up shit, but both come with some amazing minifigures. Outside of that, I will always recommend the Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, the TIE Fighter, and the X-Wing. They're all rather simple models, but they do look very nice, and especially Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter comes with some great minifigs. The Hoth AT-ST might not be the greatest model, but has some nice figures and is always discounted on Amazon, so you'll be able to get it for around 30 bucks. When it comes to helmets, it's all very much a thing of personal taste, in my opinion at least. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan, but there are some good ones like the Mandalorian helmet, the Darth Vader helmet, or the Scout Trooper helmet. I also wouldn't recommend getting any of the dioramas, they're way too expensive and some don't even include minifigures. Grogu and BD-1 are good buildable figures, with especially the latter of the two looking amazing. When it comes to the more expensive playsets, I would recommend you every single one out right now, except for the Justifier. It's still a good set, but not worth $170, especially if you're still able to get sets like the Razor Crest, the Imperial Light Cruiser, or even the Millennium Falcon. Cheaper sets like the Imperial Transport Scythe and Boba Fett's Throne Room come at a great value as well, also coming with a lot of exclusive minifigs. In the UCS range, I would recommend the Millennium Falcon, the Republic Gunship, the AT-AT, the Mos Eisley Cantina, and the Razor Crest. They're all very good sets, and yes, of course they're expensive, but they are the ones I deem worthy of their price. I would get neither the UCS Landspeeder nor the UCS R2-D2. They aren't particularly bad, but just boring in comparison to the others. Now jumping themes, we get to Marvel. Technically there are two superhero themes, those being DC and Marvel, but DC only had like one set this year. I think we can just skip them honestly. Marvel though had a bunch of sets and sub-themes this year. It's a lot weaker than it was last year, coming out with two of the worst D2C sets ever, but in the realm of smaller sets it's still quite prevalent. For example, if you want to get someone a Lego set for $20, Lego Marvel's probably get you covered the best. As the personal Spider-Man fan, get him one of the Spider-Man No Way Home sets or the Hulk vs Rhino Truck Showdown. More of a Thor guy, get him the Attack on New Asgard. Really liked Eternals, the Deviant Ambush is perfect. Enjoyed Avengers Endgame more, get the Black Panther Dragonflyer. So you see they offer a lot in that price range. Even below that you can find some good sets, mostly max. Here I'd recommend the Wolverine one mainly. Marvel also offers a lot in the $30 to $40 price range, like the Iron Man Ironmonger Mayhem, Brothor's New Asgard, the Gigantos Showdown, and Spider-Man at the Sanctum Workshop. All sets with amazing minifigs, and in the case of Brothor's New Asgard and the Gigantos Showdown, quite good builds as well. I'm not a big fan of the buildable figures, they come at the $30 to $40 price point, but a buildable figure I do like is Groot, which is why I'd also recommend getting the I Am Groot set. Slightly more expensive than that, but still a great set, is the Goat Boat. It's got 5 figures with 2 of them being exclusive and overall just looks really good. In a similar price class, you can also find an Arisham's Shadow, Shuri's Sunbird, and Avengers Endgame Final Battle, all sets with great figures but rather mediocre builds. Continuing, there's a lot of overpriced sets, be it the Iron Man Armory or the Infinity Gauntlet. Some of them are just way too expensive. In the bigger price range we find sets like the Guardian's Ship, the Rise of the Domo, Thor's Hammer and the War on the Water. While the War on the Water heavily relies on its minifigs, the other three sets provide great builds, with the Guardian's Ship and Rise of the Domos featuring some very nice figures as well. When we get to the D2C sets, I can only recommend the Daily Bugle and the Sanctum Sanctorum. The Hulkbuster and Black Panther Bust are horribly overpriced sets and I wouldn't recommend them to anyone. If you really want a Hulkbuster though, just wait literally like 2 weeks. January 1st, 2023, a minifig Hulkbuster releases for $50 and it looks so much better, so just wait for that. The Daily Bugle and Sanctum though are some really nice builds which also feature some great figures. The Bugle more so than the Sanctum, and they both fit really well into the modular line. 2023 so far looks a lot more promising when it comes to Marvel, so I'm already more excited to talk about Marvel in winter of 2023 than I am now. The next theme we'll look at is Jurassic World. Currently it's quite a small theme, so this will be a short one before we move on to Minecraft. Personally I would recommend neither of the 4+ sets. They don't offer a lot of value and especially the smaller one looks atrocious. If you're still looking for something in the smaller price range though, there's still the Atrociraptor Dinosaur Bag Chase. For $20 you get a nice background piece as well as 2 figures, a motorcycle and an exclusive dinosaur. The Blue and Better Velociraptor Capture and Triceratops Pickup Truck Ambush are both fine sets. They are in no way, shape or form great, but they're fine as a gift and give you some cool dino pieces. From the two $45 sets I would recommend the Quetzalcoatlus Plane Ambush over the Pyroraptor and Dilophosaurus Transport, since I find the build to be more interesting, but if you're buying a gift for a child I can see the Pyroraptor and Dilophosaurus Transport being a better choice purely based on it including 2 dinosaurs instead of 1. The figures in both aren't that great, so I don't really think that matters here. Now I know that T-Rex Breakout technically isn't a Jurassic World set, but I would still very much recommend it. It's a great diorama with some cool figs and a unique build. It also beats out the other $100 set, the T-Rex and Atrociraptor Dinosaur Breakout, by a mile. I really can't recommend getting that set, way too overpriced for what you're actually getting. The biggest set though is quite nice. The Giganotosaurus and the Therizinosaurus attack comes with 2 exclusive dinosaurs, a bunch of the OG characters and an okay build. It wouldn't be my first choice for a $140 set, but it's certainly one I'd consider and I'm planning on potentially picking up in the future. As mentioned, the next theme we'll look at is Minecraft. Currently the theme is about as big as Marvel. In my opinion, the golden age of LEGO Minecraft from like 2014 to 2017 is over by now, but there are still a few good sets out there. Especially in the cheaper department, Minecraft got a great selection, beating out even Marvel in the sub $20 range. Here I would recommend almost every set, in particular the Coral Reef, the Creeper Ambush, the Mushroom House, the Panda Nursery, the Bee Farm, the Fox Lodge, the Guardian Battle and the Trading Post. Some of the others I find to be a bit boring, but just from those sets I listed right there, you have the option to choose from 8 different sets for under $20. From the sets below $50 there isn't as much, but there are a few, mainly the Ruined Portal, the Warped Forest, the Nether Bastion, the Ice Castle and the Jungle Abomination. The Jungle Abomination is a bit different from the normal Minecraft sets, being based around the brick build creature rather than a location build. You also get a bunch of different pieces from the normal sets, since it's not a base Minecraft set but a Minecraft dungeon set. I also think the Ice Castle provides great value, especially for a $50 set. You get a castle with a not too bad interior as well as 6 figures. Now if we had to step up the game in terms of budget up to $100, there aren't as many great sets anymore, but still a handful of ones which are quite good. Those sets include the First Adventure, the Training Grounds and the Illager Raid. The First Adventure and the Illager Raid are great playsets, providing you with very open play space and quite a number of figures. While the First Adventure includes 4 very basic minifigs as well as a horned sheep and a moo bloom, the Illager Raid comes with 2 villagers, 2 pillagers, a ninja, a pig and a ravager. If you already have a few pillagers, this is a great addition to the group and overall just a good set. Above $100 I can only recommend the Llama Village. The modern treehouse just isn't worth the retail price of $120. The Llama Village at $130 though provides you with a lot of value for what you're actually paying. You again get 2 villagers and 2 pillagers, but also a knight, a llama herder, 2 llamas and a baby sheep. The build is quite a good one as well and even made it into my top 10 LEGO Minecraft sets video. The link to that is in the info box right now. But if you'd rather wait a little, next year is looking quite promising as well, so if none of these are to your liking, just wait a few weeks and have a look at the winter 2023 sets. The next theme we'll look at is one of the big boys, Ninjago. Ninjago is one of the longest running themes and well, it's really time for it to end, but LEGO's somehow keeping it alive. Barely though. Now Ninjago does offer even more for the smaller budget than Minecraft, but unlike with Minecraft, I wouldn't recommend nearly as many of the sets. Ninjago by now is known to have more and more really poor sets in their line. Monkie Kid could have been a successor, but sadly those sets are way too expensive and just aren't very attractive for the Western market. They bang in China though. From the 13 sets Ninjago offers for a budget of under $20, I can really recommend 4. Those Those would be the Jungle Raider, Zane's Power-Up Mech Evo, Lloyd's Jungle Chopper Bike, and Lloyd's Hydro Mech. The rest is very lackluster, sometimes even just worse versions of other already existing sets. When we get to the sub $50 price range though, this is where Ninjago really shines. A lot of the builds Ninjago centers their sets around are just dragons, but I think that's what they mastered at this point, larger scale dragons. The small ones are kinda whack, but in the $30 upwards range you can find some quite good ones. Sets I'd recommend in the sub $50 price range include the Overlord Dragon, the Tournament of Elements, the Boulder Blaster, the Jungle Dragon, the Keeper's Village, and the Fire Dragon Attack. The Tournament of Elements and the Keeper's Village include some great location builds and provide you with a bunch of unique minifigs. The Boulder Blaster is just a nice throwback build from the Legacy line, and even though the figures may not be as good, the build certainly is. The other three sets just fall in the category of great dragons. That the Fire Dragon Attack costs $50 is still so unreal to me, and the Jungle Dragon just gives you a lot for its relatively cheap price. From the sets above $50 and up to $100 there are some real stinkers, but I can't deny that there are also definitely some I would recommend. Those are the Crystal King, Lloyd's Legendary Dragon, Zane's Titan Mech Battle, the Catamaran Sea Battle, the Water Dragon, and the Ninja Ultra Combo Mech. The Crystal King is one of the 3 good sets from the Crystallized line and definitely one I can recommend. If there's one thing Ninjago is quite good at, outside of dragons, it's big mechs. The small ones look absolutely atrocious, but they've always been good with the expensive ones. You can see this with the Zane's Titan Mech Battle and the Ninja Ultra Combo Mech. They both look really nice, and the Ninja Ultra Combo Mech also adds a new idea to the table, probably inspired by the Power Rangers. Lloyd's Legendary Dragon and the Water Dragon again play into the whole dragon thing, and the Catamaran Sea Battle is just a nice combination of builds and minifigures. Now if we're going into the biggest price class of above $100, there's 3 sets I'd recommend you get. Nia Samurai X Mech, Lloyd's Golden Ultra Dragon, and the Ninjago City Gardens. Nia Samurai Mech is one of the good crystallized sets I talked about earlier. In my opinion, the Ninja Ultra Combo Mech still has an advantage over this one, even if it's just the whole concept, but that doesn't put this one down. I think I talked enough about the whole dragon thing by now, so I won't go into detail with Lloyd's Golden Ultra Dragon. The Ninjago City Gardens really isn't comparable to the other two, since it's just so much bigger, more detailed, and in short, just better. It's just an awesome set which does well in any collection. As you might have realized by now, I'm not that big of a fan of Ninjago, which is why I might not be as informed as some of the other creators. If you really want an expert's opinion, take a look at Generic Stats channel. Next up, we'll focus on Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a theme I'm just unsure about, honestly. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. The sets aren't bad, but they're nothing I wouldn't forget about within a day. Like, I could name you a current set from every price class for every theme off the top of my head, but Harry Potter's just such a blank space to me. That's all very subjective though, and shouldn't stop you from buying any of the sets, but you are going to have a hard time getting a lot of variety in the sub $20 range. Harry Potter offers a total of 2 sets for the smaller budget, and neither of them are bad sets, but they just kinda exist. The Hogwarts Courage Ancestrals on its own is quite a boring set in my opinion, could work well though as an addition to one of the Hogwarts Expresses for example. On the other hand, I think the Hogwarts Polyjuice Potion Mistakes works well on its own, but only as a display piece. It doesn't really offer any play value, and the figures you get don't attribute anything to the play experience either. If you have at least some parts of the modular Hogwarts castle though, this set becomes much more interesting, since it does offer some value and accuracy to the build. If we step up the budget now to up to $50, there's a lot more good, but also a lot of bad / very mediocre sets. I don't like any of the Hogwarts Moments sets and wouldn't recommend any of them. Can't really say a lot about the Brick Cats, I'm not the biggest fan, but I can see people really liking them. Another 2 sets I also can't recommend are the Hogwarts Fluffy Encounter and the Hogwarts First Flying Lesson. They are very boring sets and only work well in collaboration with the modular Hogwarts castle. A few sets I can recommend though are Fawkes, Dumbledore's Phoenix, Hedwig, the Hungarian Horntail Dragon, Hogwarts Courtyard, Sirius's Rescue, and Hogwarts Hospital Wing. Harry Potter really have figured out how to do these big creatures. They all look pretty good, and especially the Hungarian Horntail Dragon is one I'm planning to pick up as well. The Hogwarts Courtyard, Sirius's Rescue, and Hogwarts Hospital Wing are, unlike the Hogwarts Fluffy Encounter and Hogwarts First Flying Lessons, great sets on their own as well, and if you combine them with their respective Hogwarts systems, they become even better and add a lot of value. Now if we get into the $50 plus price range, that's where it really gets interesting. You've got some really nice Hogwarts based sets like the Hogwarts Dumbledore's Office, the Hogwarts Astronomy Tower, or the Hogwarts Clock Tower. But if you want some non-Hogwarts specific buildings, Harry Potter does offer those as well. More specifically, the 4 Privet Drive, the Hogsmeade Village Visit, and the Attack on the Burrow. If none of that is to your liking, LEGO also still offers the normal Hogwarts Express. It's a great set and offers a lot of value, and is way better than some of the other sets like the Ministry of Magic for example. From the 4 sets above $100 that aren't D2C, I would only recommend getting the 12 Grimmauld Place and the Hogwarts Chamber of Secrets. They both come with a lot of figures and quite nice builds. When we get to the D2C sets, it's very subjective in my opinion. I really like minifig scale, so I would recommend either the Diagon Alley or the Hogwarts Express, but I've also had a lot of people express their dislike towards the Hogwarts Express and how they prefer the Hogwarts icons. I also can't deny that the Hogwarts Castle is just a great set and would make a nice addition to any collection. The next theme we'll look at as a whole is cities. Cities, in my opinion, one of the currently worst themes. The last few waves have, aside from a few exceptions, really not been good. These days a lot of sets are way overpriced and just don't live up to what city used to be. There's actually a large amount of sets I'd recommend you get, but in the sheer volume of sets city has, it's just a drop in the tank. From the 34 sets City offers for a price of under $20, there is a total of 9 I'd suggest getting. Those 9 consist of the chicken hen house, the police car, the wildlife rescue ATV, the picnic in the park, the ice cream truck, the holiday camper van, the police prisoner transport, the safari off-roader, and the tractor. City's gotten good at the random vehicles like the holiday camper van or the safari off-roader. Some of the other police sets are also still decent, and I like the small occasion builds like the wildlife rescue ATV and the picnic at the park. The stunt bikes are all too expensive in my opinion, and without them, none of the stunt sets make any real sense. If you're going up in price now, there are actually quite a fair amount of good sets which aren't too overpriced. Namely, those sets are the car transporter, the rescue helicopter transport, the fire rescue and police chase, the horse transporter, the police helicopter chase, the lunar roving vehicle, the seaside police and fire mission, as well as the police patrol boat. As mentioned, there's some good police stuff here, but there are also some real shitty ones, like the police mobile command truck for example. This is also the price range where we start to dip our toes into the space sub-theme of City, and all those sets are pretty good to be honest. Now in the $50 to $100 price range, there are a lot of bad sets, mostly from the main lines like police and firefighters, but the smaller sub-themes really thrive here. The sets I'd recommend getting are the ocean exploration base, the lunar space station, the train station, the hospital, the lunar research base, the passenger plane, and the wildlife rescue camp. The space sub-theme domination keeps going, and the only marine set still available is very recommendable as well. I also thought about putting the wildlife rescue operation on here, but considering how much more value you get from the wildlife rescue camp for just $10 more, I can't recommend the set in good faith. Another set I considered recommending is the Stunt Show Arena, but $100 is simply too much to ask for. If they dialed that back to 70 or 80, I would have put that on here in no time. The 3 sets above the $100 price point I'd recommend you pick up are the Rocket Launch Center, the Passenger Train, and the Express Passenger Train. The Rocket Launch Center concludes the Great Space sub-theme, and the Passenger and Express Passenger Train are just nice additions to any city collection. They also come with the power-up technology, so you don't have to spend another $50 just on electronics to get the train to roll. Up next, we'll focus on Creator. Creator's always just kinda been there. Occasionally they do release some buildings, which is quite nice and fills the spot City should take in my opinion. Creator is one of those themes that doesn't really have any bad sets in my opinion, just kind of a lot of ones which just are there. That's also why, unlike on other themes, I wouldn't tell you not to get any of these sets. There's just some I'd recommend more than others. In the sub $20 category, those would namely be the Dolphin and Turtle, the Deep Sea Creatures, the Wild Lion, and the Supersonic Jet. Creator's gotten really good at these brick-built animals and creatures, which is why you're seeing 3 of them on here as well, and the Supersonic Jet is just a good looking plane build. Now, even though Creator doesn't offer the largest variety of sets in the $20 to $50 range, they offer in my opinion some of the best valued sets for that price. From all of the 10 sets they do offer for less than $50, I would immediately recommend 6 of them. Those 6 sets are the Fish Tank, the Safari Wildlife Treehouse, the Sunken Treasure Mission, the Downtown Noodle Shop, the Majestic Tiger, and the Surfer Beach House. All these sets are really good. The Majestic Tiger plays into the whole brick-built animal stigma again, and the Downtown Noodle Shop and Surfer Beach House are builds that add a nice flair to any kind of city for a great price as well. And a set like the Fish Tank is just the greatest play piece, doesn't offer the most value or play features, but looks good on any shelf. One set I definitely wouldn't recommend getting from the Creator line though is the Caravan Family Holiday. It's a good set, but just way too overpriced. For a price of $50, this set would be a no-brainer, but $80 is just out of this world. From the 4 sets I haven't covered in one way or another, I can recommend every single one. If you don't know which ones I'm talking about, they're the Ferris Wheel, the Medieval Castle, the Viking Ship and Midgard Serpent, and the Pirate Ship. The latter 3 are all callbacks to earlier LEGO themes, namely Castle, Vikings, and Pirates, while the Ferris Wheel is just a solid set, maybe a little expensive, but in no way overpriced. And the last theme we'll look at as a whole is Monkie Kid. Monkie Kid is known for having some ridiculous prices and not really finding its footing in the Western market. This is probably due to it not having at least some kind of representation in Western media, like Ninjago for example. It does have its own show, but it's only being broadcasted in China, which is also the main consumer for Monkie Kid sets. Due to it being relatively expensive, we can literally skip the sub $20 and sub $50 price range, since they don't offer any or just really overpriced sets. In the $50 to $100 price range, I would recommend a total of 4 sets. Those sets are Sandy's Power Loader Mech, Monkie Kid's Cloud Jet, Pixie's Noodle Tank, and the Dragon of the East. These sets are somewhat reasonably priced, at least in comparison to the other sets. One thing I gotta give Monkie Kid is that their set and character designs are very unique and not something we really see in any other theme. From all the sets above $100, there's actually a few I'd recommend. They're all very expensive, but again, there are some really nice designs in there. Those sets I just mentioned are the Monkey King Warrior Mech, the City of Lanterns, the legendary Flower Fruit Mountain, Monkey Kid's Team Secret HQ, and the Heavenly Realm. Monkey Kid is quite good at location builds. The legendary Flower Fruit Mountain especially is a really good one in my opinion, and the Monkey King Warrior Mech is one of the best mechs put out by LEGO ever. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't cover certain themes, I'll explain myself quickly. In regards to Friends, Dots, and Disney Princess, I just don't have a lot of knowledge in that area. If you're asking yourself why I didn't mention Technic, Avatar, Lightyear, or Speed Champions, it's because those lines only have good sets currently. If you're asking yourself why I didn't talk about Mario, it's because that line doesn't have any good sets apart from the 3 D2C ones. But there are still sets I'd recommend you get, so I'm just gonna quick fire you a bunch of them now. I'd tell you to get the Statue of Liberty, the Taj Mahal, the Great Pyramid of Giza, any of the modular buildings, the Colosseum, the Ghostbuster Ecto 1, the Back to the Future Time Machine, the NASA Space Shuttle Discovery, the Friends Apartment, Optimus Prime, the Ford Mustang, the Porsche 911, the NASA Apollo 11 Lunar Lander, the pickup truck, the Titanic, the Volkswagen T2 camper van, the Batman and Selina Kyle motorcycle pursuit, the Batmobile the Penguin Chase, the Batcave the Riddler face-off, the Batmobile Tumbler Scarecrow Showdown, the Batmobile Tumbler, the International Space Station, the Central Perk, Seinfeld, Sonic the Hedgehog Renal Zone, Winnie the Pooh, 123 Sesame Street, the NASA Apollo Saturn V, The Office, the Medieval Blacksmith, the Treehouse, Home Alone, and the Lighthouse.